Welcome to The Power of Change, the podcast that delves into the intersection of leadership and technology in the finance world. I'm your host, Michael Praeger, the CEO and co-founder of AvidXchange. In each episode, I dive into the leadership topics and industry trends with business leaders, partners, and customers who embrace the power of change. Super excited today to have a special guest, Blake Sanford. He's currently the Vice President of Association and Strategic Partners at Property Management, Inc. One of the things that, Blake has done over his career since joining PMI in 2016 is developed and built association management platform from really the ground up and continues to oversee the management of over 50,000 properties nationwide. He's really responsible for creating the national partnerships and developing programs to help franchise owners build profitable asset management businesses. He holds a bachelor's degree from Utah Valley University in Utah, and PMI was recently named one of the biggest brands in franchising by Franchising Times. So with that, I'd love to jump into it, Blake. And, you've been a veteran of change. You're really, I think, your whole career, and certainly an evangelist for change and different things you've done. Yeah, I want to start with more of the personal side. When you kind of were getting started, you made a big pivot from thinking about dental school and choosing kind of the business aspect. So maybe go back and just tell us about that.
It's so wild, man, because to think about it now, that was such a long time ago. It feels like a whole nother life ago. But in other ways, I'm like, wow, that feels like it was just yesterday. So my attitude going like into university and just trying to start a career, I just felt like, man, I wanted something stable. I wanted something secure. Call it like the oldest child syndrome, if you will. And so I thought, well, hey, maybe I could be a doctor. A doctor, they make good money. They've got like maybe not the greatest schedule, but I know I can count on it. And then I started doing the math, right? And I'm like, okay, 4 years undergrad, 4 years of grad, plus another residency time period, plus all the debt. I'm like, I don't have time for that. So let's go the dental route.
Yeah.
So then I decided to go down the dental route, and then school wasn't for me. And this was like the key thing where I decided to change or switch it out. I was heading into my last summer before dental school. Actually, I had just like one exam left, but my wife and I were flying into LAX for just a little quick getaway. And we flew in over this massive, like, I don't even know what it was, huge complex of warehouses and land and real estate. And I wasn't curious. I wasn't like interested. I was upset. I was so mad. I looked down and I'm like, somebody owns the land. Somebody owns all that real estate. Somebody owns a business inside those warehouses. Like, what are they doing? And why am I not doing that? And I was stewing on it for the whole time. And on our last night, my wife, we were at dinner. She goes, hey, I don't know if dentistry is for you. Like, we should think about business. And it was like a weight just came off my shoulders. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do dental school. We came back, didn't even take that last exam. And I was kind of like, what do we do now? And that's when we started doing some of our endeavors, some other things that we're involved with. And then I knew a guy, we lived by him. He was 3-4 houses away from us. And he learned that I wasn't doing the dental route anymore. And he said, hey, I've got this business that I think you would really like, just kind of the principles of it. It's in the association management space. And I went, what? Like, what is association management? And so he kind of took me in and gave me a little tour around his office and was just introducing me to the idea of community management and property management. And I just took to it really well. And so I worked with him for a while, and then PMI, I know we'll get into the PMI story in a minute, but then PMI through that connection found me, and co-founders just kind of saw what I saw, and we teamed up, and here I am. I mean, it was not in the plans at all.
That's great. So you joined PMI in 2016. You're coming up on 10 years, a handful of different roles since, beginning at PMI to working your way up to be in the VP role today. Tell us a little bit of that. Like, what was the key to kind of that progression in terms of how you navigated your career to get to the role that you're in today?
Part of it is looking at the history of PMI. So we started in 2008, focused primarily on residential property management with a little bit of commercial. We did really well at that. We focused on that for 8 years. But as we did that, we saw that there was a lot of opportunity in the association management space. Like, we would manage rental properties inside of these communities, and the board of directors would call our franchise offices like, hey, great job on those rentals. Those have typically been our headache. please come manage our association. And for years we said no, like we don't do that. That's not in our business model. And then we kind of woke up 2015, 2016 and said, well, there's obviously an opportunity here. Let's see what we can do. And that's when I got brought on to kind of build and lead this division, if you will. Things started to take off and we grew really fast. The franchise owners had a lot of natural opportunities. And so as the division grew and we started to see a bigger vision for what this could be long term, we had to build staff around it. And this now is one of our strongest pillars here at PMI. And so with that just comes natural growth and
Yeah.
professional growth.
So maybe, talk a little bit about kind of the franchisees themselves and your work and helping them, both grow as well as become more efficient.
Yeah, look, that's a great question. I think that one of the things that we love about franchising is that we get national brand awareness, but local ownership. And you can find both of those in different scenarios. Like you can find a national brand and you can find a local office, but it's hard to marry the two. And so what we've tried to do is leverage the size and scale of our brand to bring the franchise owners better technology, better pricing,
Yeah.
better systems and tools, sales methodology that they otherwise might not be able to get. And it's, hey, I mean, you give me your take on this, but what we're
Yeah.
seeing is it's hard to compete against some of these other companies out there, especially when you're a small like local shop. And so we're trying to bring them the power of a big company while still being, a fairly, small or mid-sized company. But I mean, that's what we're seeing. I don't know. I mean, that's just our
Yeah. No,
our
I
angle on
think
it.
what you're hitting on is for a lot of companies, technology's been a little bit of that equalizer, right? That, small companies can leverage technology to generate some of the scale that otherwise historically, only big companies could achieve. And so maybe,
Right.
just on the technology front, maybe, talk about some of the areas that you've leaned in to, bring technology to the franchisees and help them make their businesses more efficient.
Obviously, you've got to have a good PMS. I mean, that's kind of your core foundational thing. But in order to get the fullness of some of these processes, you got to have integrations, you got to have setups with other partners, and putting kind of that menu together for the franchise owner is something that it's difficult to do on your own. So we've leveraged our relationship with banks and our relationship with our main property management software. And of course, there's other companies out there like AvidXchange and those that we want to bring in house. And I don't know how much time we have, but I've got story after story of companies that we've acquired where we look at their current operational strategy and it's just out of control. They've got 5 people managing the books and the AR and the AP. We implement our systems, plug things into the way that we're doing it with all the stuff we've put together, and you go from 5 staff down to 1.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, it's like, what are you going to do with that extra money? You can reinvest it into the brand. You can start taking that home. Maybe your margins increase a little bit. Man, it's shocking how people are still doing business today in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, what's really been interesting, in terms of our journey as well is by focusing on the, paper manual related, business process and just
Yeah.
getting it to be digital, right? And moving from, the manual paper to digital and kind of the impact that that has. And one of the things that we're, kind of currently really trying to evangelize across not only the industry, but also, with our individual customers is really helping that journey of getting rid of paper checks. They're costly, in virtually about 90% of all the fraud happens with checks and
Yeah.
just move to a digital environment. And for those that have a younger generation, kids, they're growing up in an environment, where paper checks isn't even part of their, repertoire about how they pay bills, right? My son's 25 and I don't think he's ever written a paper check. So,
I'm not as young as your son. I was
yeah.
asked to write a check like literally 2 weeks ago for this project we had done. And I'm like calling my wife, like, do we even have a checkbook? Like, I don't even know
Right,
if we
right.
had one of those.
And then you get into the business environment, right? And it's just amazing still how many paper checks are, kind of in the world, right? Maybe you just, on that business process itself, how have you guys, navigated some of these key kind of paper-based processes and move them to electronic? And has paper check been kind of one of those processes you focused on?
We joke around our office all the time that you've got to tell people 27 times in 27 different ways to get them to change. And so that's kind of what it is. We're dealing with 100, close to 200,000 homeowners that are making these payments. And so it's not an easy task, but through our different marketing channels, some of the apps that we're utilizing, offering some benefit to not using a paper check. Those are the things that we're trying to do. But one thing that we're seeing as well, we're going to have like our proactive approach in changing the minds of our customers and how easy it is to do it electronically. But I think we're also going to see just a little bit of shift in the general population as certain age groups come into that homeowner role and what they're used to. And so there's going to be kind of a natural drop off. And then there's going to be this proactive, like, let's try to get things updated. But, we're still for the next, call it 10, 15 years, going to be dealing with the people that don't even have a computer. Like
Yeah.
that's still going to be a part of the deal for another little bit.
Yeah, let's hope it's not that long, but no, I agree with you.
I
Um,
agree. Hey, man, I hope so too.
so maybe touch on a little bit, kind of the future. Are there big areas that you're kind of either thinking about or beginning to lean into related to continue to make your operations more efficient, and then maybe does AI play a role in that?
Yeah, AI absolutely plays a role in that. It's challenging to talk about AI sometimes because I think people get so excited about it. It's like you can't have any conversation and not talk about it. We're just trying to be more realistic about what AI can actually do for us. And so, like the vision that I have and what I want to see in technology generally in this space, people talk today like, I want my manager to have a resource that they can go to find out how to do something
Yeah.
without having to go to the owner of the business or their manager. And so we talk about AI like, okay, great, AI is going to explain to that manager exactly what to do. But I'm thinking to myself, if the AI is going to tell somebody how to do what they need to do, the AI should just do the thing. That's where my mind goes. And we've got a few things in the works and stuff that we're working on right now. It takes time, but that's the vision that I have. And I don't know, people get a little bit of anxiety around it because they think they're going to work themselves out of a job. And that's just not at all our intent. Our intent is to use those resources in different ways to continue to grow where you need that human element. We're still in a service-based business, but if you can combine that with
Yeah.
with artificial intelligence and some of these just mundane tasks, it's going to make your employee happier and the business more profitable.
Absolutely, and we see the same thing. Not only in our business but across customers that we work with, and just what we've been able to do is also what's interesting is from just a skill development and career development perspective is you employees that have the right mindset and teammates have the mindset to or be curious and
Yeah.
want to experience new technology, begin using AI type tools. What we're seeing is, the impact that they have in the organization versus others who maybe don't have that curiosity and they kind of stay focused in the role they've always been doing. So I
Yeah.
think there's a natural progression around just, personal development as well by being curious
Yeah.
with some of these new technologies.
Hey, look, and you nailed it. That's for us, that's exactly it. You need those people in your business. You have to have
Yeah.
them. That's who we want, the ones that are asking questions, trying to push boundaries. You're not going to grow to the size that we are now and where we eventually want to be without that.
So maybe segue a little bit to mindsets internally at PMI as well as with your franchisees. What are some the mindsets or characteristics that you see of these leaders that are being successful not only in growing their businesses but at making them more efficient? And is there a common theme around mindsets that you're seeing?
100%. Franchising in general is just a unique space because you get people that come into the franchise brand. Typically, they haven't owned a business before. I mean, that's, when you get like these more greenfield startup guys. And so what happens is they get enough revenue that they start to generate that replaces the income they were making at their W-2 job, but now they're the boss. So they're making the same money, but they're the boss. And we see that sometimes those offices can start to plateau or maybe have just a gradual growth. The ones where we see super success, that's when they look at this for the long term and what the business actually means, which is why we're continuing to offer more and more services and products because our franchise owners that come in with that business mentality, they're trying to build either a legacy for the family or an asset that they want to sell off at time of retirement. And so those are the types of people that are going to reinvest into their business. And they're going to continue to do that until it gets to a certain size where they feel like they've built something. And look, everybody's got their own desires and hopes and dreams in life. And I think that franchising can allow for that. It's just staying connected to that purpose. And instead of just staying in one lane, like we've seen things happen in the short-term pillar with, a huge increase in inventory. Well, what does that do? Now the bookings go down because there's so many properties out there. Well, let's shift. Maybe we look at doing midterm with some of those properties and talking to our owners and our investors and shifting what they're thinking about their investment property. They just want to win and they don't care how they do it. And
Yep.
we're going to coach and train them on how to do that. That's the mindset of a franchise owner that is successful and that we're looking to bring into the brand.
Yeah, it seems like it's I'll put a phrase on it, kind of the growth mindset, right? To basically
Yeah,
want to, grow and reinvest in both the business as well as themselves, to, be kind of the next generation leader.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So maybe take it back to you, Blake, and if you have to think about, maybe what are some of those kind of critical mindsets that you have that allow you to do what you're doing every day, but also think about, kind of the type of leader that you want to be in the future. Are there any kind of, mindsets that, kind of are top of mind for you that you really kind of relate back to in terms of your secret sauce?
Yeah, so I've got kind of a cabinet of people, if you will, in my life that are well seasoned. They've been CEOs of big companies, and but they're just great people. And so I'll sit down and I'll talk with them. And I swear the most common theme I ever hear is to do things as a team. And so for me, like my seat where I'm at, I'm trying to look at things 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road on what this could be and what we've got to do today to get to that point. But it's all about having a good team. And I know it's a little cliche, but you got to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And so, like, if I were to bring in our director of operations for the association division, she's terrific. I mean, she's just amazing, and she holds the fort down, if you will, on our day-to-day operations. And so, for me, it's all about making sure the team is happy, making sure you're surrounded by good people that can buy into the vision and culture you want to create, so that it allows you to get above that and start thinking more down the line. And so I don't know. I mean, it just seems to be a common theme with everyone
Yeah.
that I look up to in business, and I hope that I can continue to do that.
Yeah. I think, one of what I see, and I do a lot of coaching and mentoring of, other entrepreneurs is, and in young leaders is the concept of, if I have to, go and, hire people or build my team with people that are smarter than me or better than me, what does that say about me as a leader? And so you get a lot of people who don't hire people that are better than them. And what I always learned, and I was fortunate I learned this at a really young age, is that's the secret of leverage is surrounding yourself with people that are better than you and in the different areas that that you're trying to manage. And once people kind of understand that and they see the power of that leverage, then they usually kind of really start accelerating. Sometimes it's a little bit of a complex related to, well, I'm the CEO,
I
what does it
was
say about
just
me, right? And I'm like, well, the more smarter people you
yeah.
have around you, the better CEO you are, right?
I was just gonna say, like, there's a little bit of ego there sometimes if you're like, oh, I've got to be all knowing. But I mean, just last night I was sending texts out to people because I didn't know the answer to something very specific to some of our technology, and I'm like, hey, I need a little help understanding this, and that's where it's got to be. If you're spending all your brain power trying to know those ins and outs of the little things,
Yeah.
you're not going to have time to work on the bigger picture stuff. So maybe a better way to say it would be you got to hire people that are smarter than you in the areas that are important to them.
Well said. Well said. So maybe just I'm also always interested in kind of the personal routines that different kind of leaders have. Tell us about those. Is like are there any kind of whether daily, weekly, kind of monthly routines that you do that allow you to be kind of the best that you can be in leading your business?
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to connect for a lot of people, but my wife and I, we hired a fitness coach last year, and it is like diet, nutrition, workout plans. We're in the gym 6 days a week, if not seven. But on that seventh day, it's more of a it's more of a sauna day. But I can tell you, man, I feel better mentally. I feel better physically. I've got more energy every single day. And so we don't miss. Like we don't miss. That is something that just is always there. We talk about business, sure, but it's like life changing when you start to take care of yourself
Right.
and just be there for your people. And so that's one of the things that's just a constant for us is just physical activity, eating right, being healthy. And then I don't know if this is like a daily or a weekly, maybe like a more of a monthly routine, but I hold sort of a coaching call once a month for all of our franchise owners. And part of that is I do about 5 to 10 minutes talking about just a health tip. And so I'm trying to bring to top of mind like our sleep. I mean, taking a walk in the middle of the day. This is a business where people get stressed out and there's a lot of things going on. And so I try to put that top of mind that as the owner of a business, you've got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And so on a monthly basis, I'm also thinking like, what are some things we can focus on now that might help improve my life and the life of our franchise owners?
Yeah, excellent. I think, it's there's a lot to be said about, investing in yourself. So you're, both mentally and physically the best you can be, and then you'll naturally be better for your team. Well, this has been, super fantastic in terms of both understanding the success of PMI and kind of what makes, PMI, really unique in the market, and kind of how you've leaned into, helping your franchisees both grow and scale their back office to be more efficient. And then kind of the personal side of the leadership. So just maybe in wrapping up, some takeaways that I've taken away from today's call, which has been great, is the leverage of technology and automation. And, what you talked about is, being able to go from, 5 to 1 in terms of kind of back office staff that you see on, a lot of the, the acquisitions that PMI gets involved with. And I think that's generally true for some of the leverage that we see across the industry as well, is just there's significant kind of people, labor leverage that technology provides. I love the discussion about to get an impact of the digital generation, in terms of how we think that a lot of this technology adoption, I think, is just going to keep accelerating because the new people coming into the workforce are digital. And I think it then goes back to kind of, I love the transition we made to the mindsets and, super success that you've seen across the franchisees is really around, their mindset of growth and investing not only in their business, but also in themselves for kind of the future. And I think investing in yourselves, involves, kind of how we wrapped up, coaching, mentoring, hiring people that are smarter, better than you, and those disciplines that you need, to have, great talent in. And then just how you take care of yourself, right? Whether it's mentally, physically, getting the gym. I'm certainly not a 6 day a week in the gym. I'm more of a, or probably 2-3 times a week, try to kind of mix it up with some kind of game sport, whether it's, tennis or skiing on the weekends. Because I think, what happens is people just get busy, right? And then you get, let your business and your schedule drive you versus being intentional about, I'm going to only be at my best if I invest in myself as well. And usually invest yourself first. One of the things that's great about, these different podcasts is taking away, different tips or nuggets, from, one leader to another. And you've given us, plenty of tips and nuggets today, Blake. Thank you. And thanks for being on this episode of Power of Change.
Yeah. Hey, no problem. I'm happy to be here. It was great.
Thanks for listening to the Power of Change, presented by AvidXchange. If you like what you've heard, subscribe to our channel and leave a 5-star review. While you're waiting for the next episode, head on over to AvidXchange.com for our latest research reports and business insights. And if you're interested in learning more about accounts payable automation from AvidXchange, click the link in our show notes to connect with our experts. Thanks again for listening to the Power of Change. We'll see you next time.